It's time now for the Canalta Hotel's AJHL Coaches Show, and I'm pleased to be joined by Calgary Canucks head coach Darryl Olsen. And Darryl, first off, thanks a lot for joining me before a big game here in Sherwood Park against the Crusaders. Bit of a late out-of-division matchup for both teams, but let's get started. You took over this team in November after just maybe not a good start for the organization. Colin Burkus departed from the team. Where were you when you were contacted about taking over the position, and how long did it take you to decide to accept the head coach role of the Canucks?
Actually, we had just gotten home from a road trip, and it was the next day that we were supposed to come in for a skate, and they canceled the skate, and was wondering what was going on, and I got a call from the president, and they wanted to meet, and I knew something was up. I didn't know actually what it was, but it was the next day that they pulled me in and asked me if I would take the interim basis again, and we know how that goes. I had that last year in Drumheller, and I was kind of reluctant to take it because of the same thing happening last year, but you know what? Things have worked out, and they removed the interim, and I actually have the head coach tag now.
Well, yeah, I kind of got into this and forgot, well, is it interim or is it head coach? But you've answered that right there. So how does that feel? I guess, you know, you mentioned you're in Drumheller, you get that interim position, didn't, you know, go your way, so to speak, and you're in Calgary now. Maybe, you know, how does that feel? And what changed for you as a coach, you know, within the last year of becoming an actual head coach?
Well, you know what? In Drumheller, being under Brian Kern, I learned a lot. And, you know, it was sad to see him go, but, you know, they wanted to change directions, and, you know, we took it over, and at one point, when I took the team over, we had 9 guys in the stands, and it was tough to get back to, you know, having all those guys back in the lineup. But just before playoffs, I got 8 of them back, and we took the Canucks, which I feel for a serious run. And you know, now being a part of the Canucks, I have people that say that we should have won that series. But you know, just this year is kind of different. I was more comfortable with taking it over and running with the boys, and it's been really good. You know, we've had our ups and downs and our ebbs and flows, but it's a great group of kids and a really good organization. Yeah,
and being with the team already, you didn't have to blow things up, I'm sure. Did you meet with a lot of the guys one-on-one just to get an idea of what direction they think the team should go, or did you feel you kind of knew what to do and the players almost expected that in a case where, you know, if you know what the coach wants, then we can appease him?
Yeah, you know what? Within the first 3 days, I think, you know, we just kind of went with the flow. I just wanted to get them adjusted to it. But within the first 3 days, we were in Strathmore, and we played really well. And we were actually playing Okotoks, and we lost in the last 2 minutes. And you know what? They started finger pointing, and, you know, we can't have that. You know what I mean? So right after that game, I told the leadership group they had a half an hour to get back to Max Bell, and we had a meeting, probably 4 hours, and we cleared the air, and you know what, we moved on from there in a positive direction, and you know what, we've made some changes, and I think it's all been for the better.
Well, let's get to your lineup, and you certainly have a lot of veteran presence on your team, but in goal, a couple newcomers to the Alberta Junior Hockey League, and I'll tell you what, I want to ask about Eric Gordon, because it seems like he's played in some very interesting places. He's a Holy Cross commit. Just talk about his play in goal for you, and how did he end up coming to the Canucks?
You know what? I believe he was in the USHL, and he was in kind of like a third guy position, and I know his dad wanted him to play more, and Pat Lawyer made a few calls back when Pat was the GM of the team, and we were lucky enough to find him. And he came up, and you know what? He's had his ups and downs, but he's been pretty stellar. Like you said, he's had those. He's been in on those nights where when our wheels fall off, they fall off, and it's too bad for him. But he's a great kid, and he's moving on to Holy Cross next year.
Yeah, Colby Matthews as well in goal. It seems that you have a good tandem that, you know, if one guy's not going, you can lean on the next guy.
Yeah, you know what? And Colby's been hurt. He pulled his hamstring, but he's back at it, and you know what? We're looking forward to seeing him tonight. And you know what? Like, it's nice to have that tandem, because you know what? You can look down the line, and you know, if things aren't going well, you can put the other guy in, and we all feel comfortable with who's ever in net.
All right, let's talk about the defense core for this team. You know, I mentioned a lot of veterans on this team, and Kyler Newman's a guy that has been around. Same with Mark Drohan, the 2 guys that are on the blue line for you. But talk about your captain and just what his presence has meant for your group and what he brings to the table. Maybe just throw in what Drohan also means to you as well.
Well, we'll start off with Drohan. You know what? you look at the guy and he's just. He's like, I call him a marathon man, right? He can go forever, and you know what? He does whatever we ask, and you know, if we need that big goal, he can take the puck end to end, and he's just so smooth, and you know what? He sees the ice so well. So you know what? As far as having him in the lineup, that's just top notch for us. But you know what? The big thing is he's moving on next year, and that's huge disappointment for us, but great for him, right? He's moving on to play at State with my brother next year, and you know what? Congratulations for him. Kyler Newman. You know, you bring Kyler and Ursulak in from Fort McMurray, and wow, you know what? They took over our locker room, and they've been leaders ever since. And you know what? The locker room's a totally different locker room with Kyler in it and not in it. And you know, just the pure dedication and the leadership that he brings, and you know, the heart and the willingness. We've been really good having him here.
What's maybe a thing that your defensemen need to work on going forward? I mean, you're in some high-scoring games right now, and obviously as a coach, that's not too fun to be a part of, I'm sure. But what's maybe something you guys got to strive for on the back end going forward here into the playoffs?
Well, and you know what? It has been tough. You know, with two of our kids coming in just after Christmas and wanting to, you know, one asked for a trade and one just flat out quit, right? And so it's been tough. You know, pulling in APs and stuff like that. But you know what? For us to be successful, we have to take care of the D zone first. And you know, you've seen some of the scores. It's just been out of hand. And it's like, even last night, it's like they shoot the puck and it goes in, and you're like, you know what? You can never get that break, right? It's like we have to work hard to score goals, and then you know what? We go down the other end and they just throw it at the net and it's in. But you know what? For us to be successful, we're going to have to tighten up our D zone. We're going to have to be a lot tougher on the boards.
Yeah. Well, you do, you know, let's move up front to your forward group, and you guys have kind of a blend of former North Division players that have kind of found a home in Calgary and the Canucks, and one of those guys is Michael Clark, and Zack Webb as well, a guy that's been able to produce at Lloydminster, and he comes to you guys and still produces. Maybe touch on Webb and just why has he been able to continue the offensive output that he did in Lloydminster and brings it to your team?
Well, just, you know, look at the type of player he is, right? He's like the ever ready bunny, right? He never stops moving. He's high octane. He sees the ice so well. He's got a great set of hands. You know what? He makes people around him better. Yeah. And to have him and come in, and he's doing very well. And as a matter of fact, him and Clark are our two leading scorers. So, you know what, to add them to our rosters really helped us out. And Clark, you know, he had 60 points last year, and last night he had a phenomenal game. And just like he told me, that's the best I've ever seen. So, you know what, he set the bar for himself. Now he has to play like that all the time, right? Yeah. But having those two is really helped us out a lot.
You mentioned Hayden Ursulak coming over from Fort McMurray. You know, how much does it help in a lineup where there's guys on the team last year where it was thought that the Canucks could go deep, didn't happen, and then you guys bring in Ursulak and Newman. How beneficial is it to have guys like that who have been far in the postseason on your squad? Well,
again, you know what? Like last year, they had a really, really good team, and they lost the majority of their leadership. So, you know what, coming into this year, we didn't have that leadership, and we had to go find some other guys. And you know what, with the guys that we did have, we had to move some. With the guys that we did have, we brought them in, and you know what, that's helped us out a lot. Now we're just looking to get healthy, and we're waiting for the playoffs.
All right, well, before I ask you, you know, what's the key going down the road for you? Let's have a little bit of fun. You are a product of playing in the AJHL. You're a player for the Spruce Grove, or St. Albert Saints. Jeez, yeah. That's how far back we got to go. And you went to Northern Michigan as well. Just talk about your time playing in the AJHL and probably some good battles here in Sherwood Park, I'd imagine, against the Crusaders, and then getting a scholarship.
Yeah, you know what? I started out as a 16-year-old in Penticton, and I got traded to St. Albert. And you know what? Honestly, I think it was best for me to be in this league because it's a tougher league. Yeah. And you know, I spent a year and a half in this league, and you know, battles against Sherwood Park, against Fort Saskatchewan, and you know, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think this is like the best league, and you know, with the players that we're pumping out and putting into either, you know, NCAA or the WHL, you know, it speaks for itself. And I recommend anyone, you know, that wants to play in this league, they need to find a place because it is a lot tougher than the majority of the other leagues.
Well, and your two boys played in this league as well, and Dylan getting an opportunity for a scholarship as well. And both you and Dylan played for Canada internationally. It's the Olympics right now. What do you remember most about donning the red and white and throwing the maple leaf on?
Well, I'll never forget, you know what, it was after college. my senior year, we got I got called up to go on a road trip with Team Canada, and we went through Ontario, and I think we played the Russians like 12 times in 15 nights. It was crazy, you know, and you know, that was really good for me. But you know what, I got to play in the Spengler Cup, and you know, just the feel that you're putting that jersey on, you know what, and playing for your country, and then winning gold in the Spengler Cup. It's an amazing feeling that, you know, you wish that everybody could have that feeling.
What was it like last year to coach with your boys? I mean, obviously that's got to be a fatherhood dream, to get an opportunity to do anything with his sons. And last year you guys manned the bench in Drumheller. You know what?
When I first took over, I had to talk to them about it because they didn't really want to do it. And I'm like, you know what? I need a lot of help, and I think having them on board helped me get a little more comfortable quicker because, you know what? I had one taking care of the forward, one taking care of the D, and you know what? Together, I thought we gelled really well. And just being able to see different aspects of the game, and you know, having that on the bench, you can walk down the bench and say, hey, you know what, maybe have your guys do this, or they come down and tell me we need to do this, and it worked out really well. But you know what, having them there was tremendous.
All right, a couple more for you, Darryl. You carved out a nice pro career. San Diego, Italy, Austria, England. Where am I forgetting? It sounds like a James Bond movie with all the places you've been, but what do you remember most about playing pro hockey and just being able to see different parts of the world and play the game you love?
You know what? It was phenomenal. You know, to be able to get drafted and get a scholarship out of the AJHL, go spend 4 years at university, and then, you know, I had a pro career and then went overseas. And you know what? Italy, Austria, England, Germany, you know, Switzerland, and you know what? That's what I try to tell these kids today. If you could live half the life that I led from chasing that little black puck. But it takes work, right? And you have to work hard at it. And it's not just going to happen. You got to fight through a lot of fires and injuries and everything. And you know what? It is a fantastic life. Even if you don't move on, you've lived the greatest life playing in the AJHL, and hopefully you'll go on to school and start giving back to other kids.
Well, certainly that's you know, a lot of these kids' dreams that play in the league. Do you remember your NHL game? One game with the Calgary Flames, 91-92?
Yeah, I do. You know what? I was lucky enough to play, you know, quite a few exhibition games, and you know, that helped me out quite a bit. But I got the call. We played Detroit Red Wings. They had, you know, Fedorov, Yzerman, all those guys. So you know what, it was a fantastic opportunity, and you know, whether I played one game or 100, you know what, I lived the dream, and you know, that's all I want to do is help pass it on.
All right, from the Calgary Flames to the Calgary Canucks, how do the Calgary Canucks get things going here, the final stretch before the playoffs, in a bit of a dogfight to see who you play? Obviously, you want to finish as high you can. Looks like it's going to be fifth is the best you can finish. But doing so, how do you do that? And then in turn, pick up a first-round victory in the postseason, no matter who you play, and hopefully going beyond that.
Well, you know, like we talked about earlier, I think the biggest thing for us right now is getting healthy. And then, you know what, whatever happens. We know we're going to be in the playoffs. We don't know who we're going to get. And as you know, the playoffs is a whole new season, right? So I think we just need to get healthy and find out who we play. And then, you know what, watch a lot of video and get these guys prepared. And, you know, that's all you can do is help them get prepared. And it's up to them what they're going to do on the ice.
All right, Darryl Olsen, the head coach, not the interim, the head coach of the Calgary Canucks, joining me on the Canalta Hotels AJHL Coaches Show. We'll have a couple more left as the season winds down here in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, and the Inter Pipeline playoffs are around the corner. Darryl, thanks a lot. Good luck.
Thank you so much.